we're moving to our discussion zone right about now, and we took around and we're asking people, like I mentioned earlier, this week is Suicide Prevention Week here on the Africa Daily Show. So we actually took around asking people why they think people committed suicide, why people wanted to commit suicide. And we got, quite some voices. So I'm going to play them right here on the show for you. And then also, you also get to find out what people think about suicide. But I do have my colleagues in the studio with me, Hafiz and Mamiaba. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How are you?
Well,
How are you? Okay, Maud, I've already asked you how you're doing, so I'm not going to ask you again.
Okay, cool.
Well, we're going to play the voices right about now.
With regards to your first question, why do you think people commit suicide? To me, what I would say is like someone may commit suicide due to severe depression. Severe depression can lead someone to commit suicide. Why? Because something may be worrying the person, and the person may think that he or she is the only one enduring that problem, forgetting that many people are going through such or even more than that. But due to them not talking to many people concerning their problem, they may decide to take off their own life. So to me, severe depression can lead someone to commit suicide. Thank you.
Okay, I think most people commit suicide because of depression. They feel like there is no solution to their problems, and the only way to end it is to commit suicide. And depression is seriously, depression is killing many people out there.
Why do people commit suicide? There are so many factors that may influence a person's decision to commit suicide. The most common one, I think, is depression. The most severe and intense form of depression. According to statistics, depression is present in about half of all suicide cases. Depression can lead to severe emotional pain and loss of hope, and it is when all hope is lost that depression can be very dangerous.
People commit suicide because of varying reasons. It could be financial, it could be emotional, and it could be psychological. Financial in the sense that if you lose an investment that you have prospects for, in fact, investment that you have budgeted for, and at the point you realize that you are not even going to be able to recoup the amount you have invested, not to even talk about the profit on it, then you feel like, well, the easiest way to just forget about your calamities is to end your life. And people too are owing a lot. I mean, they are debtors to a lot of people. At the point you feel like, well, you cannot pay, so let me just end my life, and everything will just, end on that level. And psychological reasons could span from the fact that, well, you happen to be in a relationship where you feel like, well, this is somebody I want to marry. Then all of a sudden the person will say, let's end the relationship, or let's break up. It can cause psychological problems that will make the person think about suicide.
Substance abuse, use, or alcohol use can contribute to why people commit suicide. Taking that or this will influence them to thinking of taking their lives. Academic failure is a contributor, and then financial problems, thinking that they can't offer anything, they can't get to any place because they are academically weak. When they see their friends going places where they can't because of their failure academically, it also can contribute to when considering suicide.
I think one of the major reasons that leads people to commit suicide is when they feel they are trapped, they have no way out, they have no solution, no alternative, no way of dealing with a problem or a situation that they are facing, and they feel there's no point to it and they give up. And so they want to take the easy way out, which is committing suicide and ending their lives. But then we need to understand that there could be other reasons that would lead to it. But from my perspective, I think that is one of the major reasons that would lead to someone committing suicide.
In my opinion, I would say loss of something very significant or breakup can make people commit suicide. It is obvious that when you lose something significant in your life or the end of a relationship can flip your world upside down. And you know, this can trigger a lot of emotions. So even though some people quickly accept the loss and move on, some may deal with the depression.
Well, you've heard the voices of various people on their thoughts on why people commit suicide.
Charlie, what it happened? You're tuned to Africa Global Radio. My name is Manifest from Accra, Ghana. Bless up.
Okay, gentlemen, and my beautiful lady in red today. I mean, what's some of the thoughts you picked from what they've said? Was there a string, something that ran through all the things they've said, Hafiz?
Yeah, very, very interesting words there. I hear people mention depression a lot. I'll get to that in a bit, but one thing is very clear from their submissions. You realize that there's not a single particular cause of suicide. It varies from situation to situation. I mean, even globally, you never can tell. You can't pinpoint a singular cause of suicide. There are so many reasons. So that even makes it even more a more complex issue to deal with, depending on which part of the globe or what setting you are dealing with. Now in Africa, the situation is not looking so good in the way we even deal with it. For instance, if you talk about Kenya, data from their Ministry of Health reveal that, 4 people die each day through suicide. In Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire, we are talking more than 15 suicides per 100,000. In Ghana, I think somewhere 2017 was where we recorded the most. I think about 30 deaths through suicide. Yes, that was just reported cases.
Did anything happen particularly in 2017?
2017, that was it. Yeah, that was what a lot of it that came through the media rather.
Yeah.
That's what we got. And you see, and according to even the reports that were had, you realize that the preferred method was through hanging.
Yeah.
That was the preferred method, followed by the use of arms, and then the third, I think, that was poisoning. So,
What are the ones that they were jumping from high places? Because there was a time we had a rampant case where university students were literally jumping off.
Well, that pales in comparison
hostel.
to the number of people that decided to hang themselves. Of course, it's not to say that it's not one of the ways people decide to go out. But then, yes, before the depression bit, with suicide, you hear people say, "I'll be there for you. You are not alone." Things like that. And when they say, "I'll be there for you," and you actually give them a call, they are nowhere to be found, because the first 2 or 3 times they called you before, they asked for money. And so the third time when they actually need just someone to talk to, you decide, well, I'm not going to talk to him or her, because, well, at the end of the day, I know how this conversation is going to go.
to end, yeah.
They are going to ask for something which I can't give. And the thing about it is that it doesn't matter if you are trained or not to be able to talk to someone about their situation. They just need a friendly voice to hear. Yes, and the depression bit coming there, I hear people say depression a lot. And a lot of the time, we tend to confuse boredom with depression, okay, or a mood swing with depression. When you're actually depressed, now for you to be even classified as depressed, you have to be, diagnosed with that condition. Okay, it's not something you just feel and you start throwing it about. I'm depressed. No, because sometimes at the end of the day, what people call depression is just that they're hungry. Really, just go out and eat. You'll be fine.
Don't you think
No,
the playing on it lightly also might also be part of the reasons why the numbers are increasing? Because the way you're also saying
no, I'm
with
saying
this
listen.
idea of a mood swing, don't you believe that
That's what
probably
I'm
it
saying.
starts
It
from
it
there?
takes more than that. Then that's when you have to actually go for a checkup.
Yeah, but then
Sometimes they even prescribe meds for
yeah,
it. Not
but
a-
then
yes,
how many people would go
medications.
to because the
Exactly.
way you're also saying it could
No,
just be a mood swing. If I keep thinking, oh, maybe it's just mood swing, I'll be fine. So I keep going in
good.
it and it
So
gets
go to the
worse.
hospital. But you don't sit and just slap a label on yourself and say I'm depressed. And it's something a lot of people. It's just something I've noticed. People tend to use that condition a lot. I'm depressed. I'm depressed. And you see, fine. And when it's even indeed depression. Now, depression is so severe that, look, it's not something you can even string in words to tell how you feel. And imagine feeling a certain type of way and you can't even explain it to yourself. How then do people get you? That's what even makes it even really bad.
So how then do
And
they
so-
go tell doctors that this how they feel?
He's a medical professional. He's trained to listen and not judge you. Okay, he's in no judgment space. Unlike someone like me, you tell me without the first thing, I probably would judge you.
Maud, Miss Maud,
Maud.
please.
I-
Just
I
hold.
realized I just walked into your trap.
Hold
You know,
the fire.
so yes, I don't know if you get me. So in instances like that, some would even just simply call you lazy or just diminish whatever it is you are feeling.
Yes.
Yes, disregard it. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. For you to have that, to be certain about what exactly it is you are going through, go and see a professional.
But how many
Okay.
people know they have to go see a professional? Because looking at the
That's
it's a condition.
It's a condition. Yeah, and here we don't treat it as such. I mean, we
yes,
just
because
like
the reason why I'm asking him that is,
Hmm.
I mean, unless we want to say the reality on the ground is not everybody will walk. Once I'm not cut, I'm not bleeding, I'm not feeding, I'm just not this thing. Nobody would want to willingly walk because it has not been encouraged here.
Well, that's another cultural thing that we'll have to explore. But then again, I mean, and the thing with suicide is that, I mean, it's something that is no respect of persons
Yeah.
or whatever it is you do, whether successful or not. I mean, we hear poor people commit suicide all the time. We hear the rich, the high and mighty in society also commit suicide.
yeah.
So we're like, what's going on? Being a football enthusiast and everything, I think if you're familiar with Emmanuel Adebayo, I think at the age of 16, he almost committed suicide. Yes, and it was just something simple that took him out of it. Because at 16, he was that was the time he played at Metz by then in France, and he was earning some £3,000 then monthly. And this was a guy that kept saying that his family wanted him to buy a house worth about £500,000. And the pressure eventually got to him. So one day, I mean, he lives above, a pharmacy just downstairs. So he decided to go downstairs to get some tablets and everything. He kept going, and I think they suspected and were asking him, and his excuse was that he was doing it for a charity in Togo. So he came back, and he had decided he was going to end his life. Took the water, and before he did, at midnight, he called his friend. And in their conversation, it went on and on until the friend talked him out of it and actually told him, look, you are going to change the face of African football. You mark my words. And then he was like, are you kidding me? With everything I'm going through, that is never going to happen. And guess what? His friend was like a prophet. I mean, fast forward to 2008, and guess who was the African Footballer of the Year? Emmanuel Adebayo. And he did that ahead of Michael Essien and our own Michael Essien. Look at the form he was in then. And Abu Trek of Egypt. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about it anyway, but you can see that, yes, suicide is something that we haven't talked about enough, and it hopefully will open up the conversation.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to. Miss Maud. So you heard the voices. You've heard what the people had to say. Hafiz has given us an intro.
Yes, I did. I did hear the voices, and like Hafiz said, the most common thing that ran through was depression, and that is true. And then there was even one of the voices we actually went to talk about how it can be emotional, how it could be financial. He said financial, right?
Yeah.
How it could be financial and how it could be psychological. I would also like to add that I think sickness is also an example of why somebody would take their life.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, let's say I have been diagnosed with a chronic disease and there's no way out.
And the family just keeps spending money to
And
keep you alive.
money is being spent, and money is being spent, and money is being spent. And then I just look and I'm like, I cannot do this to my family anymore. Let me just end it all, because in the long run, I wouldn't even be able to get a cure.
Yeah.
I would just be living on drugs to sustain my life till whenever God decides to finally say, okay, my child is okay now. Or even certain situations where a person is like, they have to sit in a wheelchair. They have to have a certain parts amputated. Something happens. A person goes blind. The person loses the ability to hear. So many things could cause a person to take their life. And I would say that another reason is sometimes people just feel like, this is it. I can't do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. I don't see a way out. I mean, there's this rapper that killed himself. He committed suicide, I think, sometime this year. He's called, is it Lil? He's called Lil something. I don't remember the name. But the reason why he killed himself was he had a case in court where he was being accused of killing his friend. His friend was murdered and he was accused of having a hand in it, and it's like he sees no way out. It's like, I didn't do it and they're saying I did it.
Too.
And it looks like the trial wasn't going well, so he decided to off himself, and he left a couple of notes. You see how the notes they leave behind. And I actually have a friend who once decided to take his life. So he texts me like, and when something like that happens, it scares you. So he texts me and he's like, yo, I've had enough. I don't know. Nothing is going right, and I feel like I'm being a burden to my family. So maybe if I take my life, you should see me. Ha! The motivational speaker in me that I didn't know was there
Came alive.
God. We did it for one straight week, and today he's alive. And anytime he tries to bring it, I'm like, yo,
Don't try this with me.
You and I will not do this movie. We will not watch this movie again. It's like, because sometimes a person tells you, I want to take my life, and then in your head you're thinking, you wish you could feel how they are feeling, but you cannot. You in as much as you try to understand, you can't understand, because you don't know what is going through a person's head. You don't know what they are feeling. You don't know the emotion. You don't know the demons they are dealing with that is causing them to say, I want to take my life. I want to end it all. So like Hafiz said, suicide is something that we don't talk about. And I think that borders on the fact that right from childhood, we are not taught about to talk about our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to males. It's like, they tell you, obey so like males don't cry,
men don't cry,
and men are not supposed to show emotion, and all
You're
of
not
those
supposed to
things.
be
So a person is going through something, and like, yo, this is serious, and you need to talk to a psychologist. They're like, I should go and sit in front of somebody I don't know and talk about my feelings.
Shrink.
You know, men are not supposed to show emotions, and
You know
people
how
will
awkward I
judge
will
me.
look?
And it's like,
No, but you see, sometimes people refuse to talk about their feelings for the fear of it being used against them.
Yes,
yes.
I know that part.
So it's not exactly, cut and dry. Talk about your feelings. Talk about your feelings. Yes, there's a reason most people would be like, no, you know what, I'm good. Because, like I mentioned, judgments from ordinary folks like me or people around. But if it's a professional that understands what you're going through, they will definitely level up with you and, understand the situation you're going through rather than try to, use it to get back at you at some point. Anyway.
yeah, I get it. But, if a person is judgmental, sometimes you can tell. Based on the comments they make about certain people, based on the comments, I mean, it's not in all cases that you can tell this person is a judgmental person, but sometimes you see it. So if I have a friend that I know is judgmental, there's no way I'm talking to the person about my feelings. So in as much as there's the fear of being judged, sometimes it has to do with whoever you're talking to about your feelings. Because I have somebody I can vent to, And this person will not judge me, not for anything in this world. No matter what it is that I am telling them.
Male or female?
Why do you want to know?
Oh, okay, sorry.
But but so it depends on whoever it is you're dealing with. I mean, African parents can be so judgmental.
Really?
So
African parents.
okay, based on what I have seen, because I mean, you see the comments, you hear the comments they make about certain people, you hear the things they say, the things they do. So, in as much as I'm really cool with my parents, there's no way I'm talking to my parents about my feelings. Not at all.
No, you see, even the conversation surrounding suicide is still very touchy, because there's the cultural elements, there's the religious elements, and everything. I mean, religious-wise, I mean, you are told you go to hell when you do it.
Oh yeah. Point blank.
So that is enough for people not to even talk about it when they harbor such thoughts. Okay. Whereas in a society where it's something you openly discuss, well, if it's something that I'm considering, I might just bring it up, or it will come up some way somehow. But already you are condemning me to a place that is far worse than what I'm even thinking. There's no way I'm going to open up to you. So there's that bit of it. And in most cases, even, I read a report in Nigeria where sometimes when a person dies through suicide, I mean, most people would rather say it's homicide, basically. The law term is manslaughter and everything. Yeah. Why? Because it's easier to accept it that way. Because of the taboo and,
the whole thing.
The whole situation surrounding it. So not everyone is willing to open up on the conversation. And just to add a little bit on Mort's case, yes, it was good you spoke to your friend and kept him on the line. Physically, if you were able to actually go and see
I would have.
Yes.
I'm sure I would have.
It would have helped. But then, and in certain cases too, they will speak to you and tell you that, Maud, keep it a secret. I don't want you to tell anyone. Well, in that instance, please sing like a bird to any ear that would listen. Seriously, because, and especially to people that are close to them, because this is not something you should keep a secret. Imagine you keep it and then they actually go through with it. You're going to hate yourself. It's not a good feeling, anyway.
No, it's not. It's not a good feeling. Let's look at the what we actually asked the people how they can help people who have suicidal thoughts, and these are some of the thoughts we got from people.
Showing support, offer compassion to them, or to anyone considering suicide. Then this will help. Yes, if I feel concerned about someone because I care and I want to offer support, or actually, how can I help? I want a fellow can talk to me, open up, especially when they feel isolated. They feel they're not talking to anybody. Yes, compassion and offering support to them, talking to them, help them change their mind, telling them that it is not the end of everything. It is not the end of their struggle. Everybody suffers from one or two things in their lives, but it cannot pin them down. It cannot just letting them go, take off everything and want to end it just like that. But I think offering support, compassion to them will really help.
And I think ways to prevent it, or ways to help people battling with depression, by getting close to friends who at least will make the person smile, getting close to family members, and also watching movies, reading, and then not being in a quiet place alone.
The next one, concerning the offer or the help I would provide to someone thinking of committing suicide, is to get a person to understand and appreciate that it's not just about ending it all and moving on with life. because when you are dead and gone, the people who love you are going to miss you. And so you need to think of them first, that what are they going to do in my absence? And is ending it really the best way to solve the problem? Because ending your life does not solve the problem. It leaves others to deal with the issue, as well as the loss of your presence. So I think what matters most is I would want to extend love, kindness, concern, compassion, and my company and my presence to someone who is thinking of considering suicide. And then get the person to help the person any way I can in solving the problem. And then after bringing the person out of his or her predicament, get the person to appreciate that there is a bright side to life. No matter the problem or challenge we're going through, there is light always at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
The help I would offer to people considering suicide is time and attention. People considering suicide need time and attention. They need to be talked to, at least giving them the time and attention, talking to them, and then psyching their minds to believe that it is not over yet and that they can still achieve something even greater than the loss they suffer. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Hafiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. As to what people can do, yes, they've touched on a few issues. And the little I want to add is, well, first and foremost, if you want to really help anyone that you see that is possibly, displaying, suicidal tendencies, one of such ways is by, getting in touch with a professional, just linking them up with, anyone that can be of help professionally. Now, also, in terms of getting professional help for them, you also realize that most of the time people don't even go for professional help because not just because they don't know it's something that can be worked on, but cost is also an impediment. And so, if in such a situation you can actually absorb the cost, which would help in helping this move the situation. I don't know if Maud has done that with her friend anyway. So, but just saying. And the other issue is, yes, I noticed in one of the voices, the gentleman is talking about, yes, you know, it's going how it's going to hurt those you are leaving behind when you do it. Now the thing is, the person is not in their right mind. Okay, they're not thinking straight. So you trying to guilt trip them is it's sometimes even going to backfire because what it means is that I mean, this person is going to rationalize what you're saying, thinking that they are a burden already. So if I should go ahead and do it, I'm just helping you. I don't know if you get it. My existence is a burden. So, you know what? Let me just do it anyway so that you don't have to deal with, the baggage. So sometimes you need to be careful. And the thing is, you have to really be careful around people that, show these tendencies when you're around them. The words are particularly important. They pick up on these things. And yes, people keep saying compassion and attention and everything. Then you ask, where is this? Like, how can we know all these things? And then, I mean, the numbers that we see and the numbers I just mentioned. So there seems to be a disconnect somewhere. Hopefully, we'll get an expert to delve into it and tell us what exactly is going on out there.
For me, honestly, I didn't really want to touch on this topic because it's very close to home for me. I have
Right.
attempted suicide before, and it's left me with dire consequences with regards to my health. But the very people that actually were the reason why you actually decided to even take your life are the very people that feign the surprise and act as if you're everything that matters. The same way you're asking, where is all this care and concern? In the normal routine of things, the care and concern is not there. The key thing is get whatever thing has to be done to be done. And everybody forgets to live in the present. And like you mentioned, words are a big thing. I'm a wordy person. I write. I used to write a lot of poems, but I stopped because most of the poems I write are sad poems, and they really get to me a lot. So it's, I don't know, but people say things and it gets to you badly. It makes you think. It drives you insane. I remember this morning I was talking to a friend and somebody was calling and Maud was actually making a comment, and that very person that was trying to reach me was, I think I'd say he's one of the reasons why I'm alive today, because he actually informed his father. I told him I was planning to do it, but he thought I was joking. And the day I actually took the meds, the drugs, he told his father because he was scared. He didn't know what to do. And yeah, I was rushed to the hospital in time, so that saved my life. But I feel we should be conscious people when we're dealing with other people, because you never know the shit someone is walking around. Somebody is actually already carrying the, sorry for my choice of words. It's just an emotional moment. So I'm sorry for the S word, but it does happen. Somebody will be walking around with a whole baggage on the scale, and the least thing they need is just a tip. And probably that word you would say out of place, maybe that little weight they need to just tip it all off. So be conscious when you're dealing with people, especially in your words and your actions. You have people who are so self-centered. It's only when it becomes a problem that they realize that, hey, I need to think of somebody else. But in their normal day-to-day business, it's always about what they want, how they get it, and what it's being done about. As to what whoever is going to carry out the job for them is feeling, going through, they don't care. And some of these things, we need to sit and talk about it. It's not always about the normal routine. Sometimes you need to sit with people and ask them, how are you? And they're like, I'm fine. No, how are you actually doing mentally? Sometimes you need to take a walk with people, talk to them, chat with them. But when we don't build that relationship, nobody would open up. Like Maud was saying, there's certain conversations we would never have with people. And when you actually mentioned the religious thing, I remember I opened up to an adult, years after the whole thing, that I attempted that once. And you know what he told me? Oh, if you had died, you were going to go to hell. And this was a family member. And I was looking at the person, I was like, so then there's that fear about, okay, so then it means what I even did was wrong. So then the situation moves from what even led you to that point to the fact that you were committing something that was even wrong in the first place. So nobody's really bothered about the fact that you could have died. They're bothered about the fact that you would have gone to hell when you died. It's such a big issue.
Yeah, it's multifaceted. Well, but it's a good thing we have a day such as World Suicide Prevention Day, and here at EGR we are definitely commemorating the week, and hopefully tomorrow being the day itself. And these are conversations we need to keep having. It's by this way that you can have people actually boldly step up and tell you, okay, so or actually even they bring up the conversation that yes, I need help, because it's not easy. The person feels, in their most vulnerable states, when they ask you for help, it's not easy asking for help. Honestly, it's not. For people to come out and say, okay, this is what I'm going through. So if you can't actually help, you don't really say that I'll be there for you, and then they call you and you are nowhere to be found. But these days we say it in the name of empty gestures every now and then. Well, it's just something I said. Or how are you? And he says I'm fine. But like you rightly said, asking deeper, how are you really? Because more often than not, it's easier to just say I'm fine than to have to explain what you are going through, knowing very well the person doesn't care. Anyway, so what?
Yeah, Epi is emotional right now. We are sorry that happened. Really sorry. Are you better now? Okay. So I would say finally that I think sometimes we should pay attention to the people around us. Let's say you know this person to be a lively person, but once every while you see their mood change, and you're trying to get through to them, and you're not feeling the vibe. I think you should, like Hafiz said and like you said, probe, try to find what's happening, because sometimes people want to say I'm fine just because they don't want to talk about their feelings. So they'll just say I'm fine and then that's it. So we should pay attention to the change in moods, the change in behaviors of the people close to us. Because sometimes if you're paying attention, then you're able to recognize that something is wrong with this person or something is wrong with that person. And I wanted to say that sometimes we shouldn't let the things people say get to us so much, but then everybody's wired different. So, or Hafiz, what do you think? Everybody's wired different in the sense that me like this, if you say something to me and it hurts me, it will get to me, but after some time I'm like,
a bundle of positivity, positive energy.
After some time I'm like, you are a terrible person, and you being a terrible person should have no effect on who I am, on the way my day should go. But like I said, everybody's wired different. Somebody could be affected by the word so much that it could cause them to do something to themselves, or it could bring a whole different issue up. But
anyway, just quickly before we go, I remember reading up on this story about, about a young lady that prepared everything. She wanted to end it all. And what happened? She was seated and a friend of hers called her and said, look, hey, what are you doing? Let's go out. And she said, oh, I'm just tired. She insisted. In fact, she came home. She came to her and then dragged her, just literally had to drag her out. She didn't know what was going on, but took her out and they had an amazing time. And later when she recounted the incident, she was like, that friend was the reason she's alive today. Just because she came out and just took her out. Let's go and eat. Let's go and do this. Now, even in our cultural circles, with, what's the name? With even the older folks and everything. Now, when our parents, we don't even talk to them that much because, you see, a lot of the time, for most older folks, when their children grow up and they leave the home, it gets very lonely. Psychologists call it what? The emptiness syndrome, where they have to redefine and find themselves again. So a lot of the time, that's why they call it ziara. I don't know if you understand Hausa. Just the whole idea of checking up on people, even religiously, it's mandatory on you. Oh, calling people up every now and then, or just paying them a visit. Sometimes you never know. The smallest things would actually make a lot of difference. Just even asking these questions.
This tiny.
And also, there was a psychologist that was saying that, look, sometimes it's not okay to just say, how are you doing, or do you want to talk? Sometimes just directly ask them, are you thinking of taking your life, or are you about to kill yourself? You see, because most people will not tell you. That is if you've noticed. Most people will not tell you. So asking them directly means you are forcing them into a corner. Unless they are exceptionally good at lying and putting up a front, then maybe you'll miss it. But if they've been looking for an in, that is you giving them a chance. To actually say something. But if you don't ask them sometimes these direct questions, some of them will just, how are you doing? They are going to feed you a bunch of half-truths.
A bunch of
I'm fine and lace it with, I'm fine, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that's that anyway, so.
And just to top it off, like you said, we should check on our people. There's this thing going about where people are like, in this day and age, check on the people who are only checking on you. But it's not like that. Sometimes check on people. One thing I do is sometimes I randomly go through my contacts and somebody I haven't heard from in a while, I'm just like, oh, hey, how are you? And then before you know it, they're telling you things. Because for all you know, they were just there looking for somebody to talk to. Yes. So in as much as somebody might not be checking on you, but this person would check on me if they were okay, or every once in a while. But it turns out you don't hear from them in a while. Check on people. It's just saying a hey, hi, hello, how are you? How have you been? It takes nothing out of your life. So it's just sometimes just check on your people, even if they're not your people anymore.
You know.